Hi. In helping you work through the calculations of your LAI.G3, I thought it would be beneficial for us to take a look at a couple of problems, talk about how we calculate them, and see how percent composition can be used to not only look at one compound, but to compare two compounds. Two problems to get us started in our thinking. First, percent composition by mass. If you don't remember the formula, the percent nitrogen, which we are asking about, is equal to the mass of nitrogen over the total mass times 100%. In this case, since we don't have any numbers provided, but we do have a chemical formula, we're going to use this chemical formula to figure out our masses and then therefore our answer. When we have a chemical formula, we use the masses from our periodic table to figure out our molar mass and the mass of our elements. When you have a chemical formula that has subscripts, subscripts apply to the element immediately before them, and if those subscripts are outside of a parentheses, they apply to all elements inside the parentheses. So in this calcium nitrate, you have one calcium, there's two nitrogens, because there's two nitrates, each nitrate has one, and there are three oxygens in one nitrate, and since there's two of them, that's a total of 6 oxygens. To calculate our molar mass, and we look at the masses of each of our elements, that's going to be 40 for our calcium, plus 2 times 14 for our nitrogen, plus 6 times 16 for our oxygens, which will give us a total mass of 164 grams as our molar mass. So we're going to plug those back in to our equation on the top. The mass of nitrogen is going to be 2 times 14 because there are 2 nitrogens in the compound. So we double the mass. 28 grams over 164 grams times 100%, which will give us 17.1% nitrogen. This number is very helpful because it talks about the percentage nitrogen in this sample, which we are looking at for 1 mole, or any sample of calcium nitrate. So looking at our second problem, we're going to use that information to analyze a specific sample that is 75 grams of our compound. I want to know how many grams of nitrogen there are in that compound. To do that, I can either use a proportion, which would use on the top the nitrogen and on the bottom the calcium nitrate, and on the left our percentage. And on the right, we're using the specific number from our problem. So then we're targeting the specific grams of nitrogen. Or my preferred way, which is to use our given number. And we can use a dimensional analysis type approach where our dimensional analysis would include that percentage nitrogen, where we have our 17.1 grams of N per 100 grams of compound. In this second case, the calcium nitrate is going to cancel, and that's going to give us our specific number. On the right side, we're going to cross multiply, and that's going to cancel out a lot of our units, and the numbers are going to be 17.1 times 75.0 equals X times 100. Both of these are going to give us the same answer of 12.8 grams of nitrogen. So in this case, not only can we find a percentage for some formulas, we can use that percentage to then look at a specific sample. This is very important for your lab because the baking soda sample, the second sample, had the same starting material of our baking soda, sodium hydrogen carbonate, where it became one of 3 possible solid products, either sodium hydroxide, sodium oxide, or sodium carbonate. Notice that the other products shown are all gases, so they left the sample as it was heated, so the amount of sample is going to decrease It's going to raise the question of which of those three happened. The answer is going to be found by analyzing in a similar way that we just saw. Already you can kind of see there's going to be a difference between these three options depending on which one happened. If the first one took place, I only made carbon dioxide that left. In the second and third, I made carbon dioxide and water. So you should expect the mass to change by a different amount if each one of them happened. You're going to go back to your data and based on what actually happened, align what actually happened to what should have happened for each of the three cases. Let's look at these three problems, and then we'll go back to our original problem to tie it together. The percent composition of calcium in calcium chloride, if you need a chemical formula, calcium chloride is CaCl2. Its mass is going to be 40 plus 2 times 35. Of course, we're going to round to the nearest whole number, which is 110 grams as our molar mass and our total. Our percent calcium is going to therefore be 40 over 110 times 100%. Quickly grab a calculator. And that's going to give us 36.4% calcium. This number, again, is going to be very helpful in solving any future problems. So first, let's say I had a 10-gram sample of calcium chloride. Solve it whichever the two ways you like better. I, as I said, preferred the dimensional analysis route. You might be able to figure out this one yourself by just, kind of looking at it and thinking. But if you can't, it is totally fine to show your work and run your calculation. And we're going to end up with 3.64 grams of calcium. This is very helpful because let's say I did a similar reaction to what was above, and I could turn calcium chloride into something else like a calcium bromide. I know that when that conversion occurs, sure, the chlorides and the bromides are switching, but that calcium is the same. The amount of calcium that is shown here is the same amount of calcium that we're going to see in our next problem. That's how chemistry works. You can't create or destroy any elements. So any calcium that I start with must be equal to the amount of calcium that I end with. This means that I could set up another set of calculations to look at, well, what would that mean for my total for calcium bromide if my part for calcium is the same number? So first, let's write ourselves a formula for calcium bromide. Our mass is going to be 40 plus 2 times 80 this time because bromine's mass is 80, which is going to give us a total mass of 200 grams. I know that in my sample, if it was a 200-gram sample, a couple things that I know. First, I know that the percent calcium in this is going to be 40 grams over 200 grams times 100%. Or 20%. And I also know, based on my previous problems, that this ratio right here is going to be the same ratio, whether it's a 200-gram sample, a 100-gram sample, it's the same. I also could use the information from calcium too. So I'm going to use that information I have on the left in conjunction with this 3.64 grams of calcium. And this time I'm going to flip my fraction. If I have 3.64 grams of calcium, that came from the previous problem, how many grams of calcium bromide should I expect? Using this percentage now upside down, we're going to cancel out our calciums and multiply across, which would give us a predicted 18.2 grams of calcium bromide. So the question that I'm answering with this calculation is that if 3.64 grams of calcium was used, I would expect 18.2 grams of calcium bromide. Going back to our reactions here, it's the same question. You know in your lab you had about 2 grams of baking soda. So if I can figure out how many grams of sodium are in that 2 grams, and using that same amount of sodium, I could predict how much sodium hydroxide would have been made. I can predict how many grams of sodium oxide would have been made, and I could predict how many grams of sodium carbonate would have been made. Then comparing how many grams would have been made in each of those cases to how many grams you actually made when the experiment ran, you can make a prediction as to which of your 3 products is the one that actually got formed. I hope this helps. Thanks for watching.